do what it does so well. How does a pressure cooker cook food so quickly? And it has to do with the steam being trapped inside the unit or being trapped inside the pot if you're talking a stovetop pressure cooker. And when that steam builds up, it builds pressure and it actually raises the boiling temperature of water, which is pretty fascinating if you ask me. Boiling temperature of water is 212 degrees Fahrenheit as long as you're at sea level, and there's a key there. No matter what, you cannot boil water at higher than that. So if you're cooking on the stovetop, the highest temperature you can cook at is 212. In a pressure cooker, whether electric or stovetop, you can get up to 235 and some even say 250, which means you're cooking at a slightly higher temperature, and then that pressure builds up and makes the cooking also more efficient. So there are a couple ways we can look at this to help us understand. And the first is that altitude. You know, when you see cooking instructions, it'll say for certain altitudes, the instructions vary. Now, I live at sea level more or less, so I've never really paid attention to those. But the reason the altitudinal instructions vary is because at higher altitudes, water actually boils at a lower temperature. So if you're cooking on the top of Mount Everest, your water is going to boil at 160, which is kind of cool because you're like, cool, I'll get the water to boil faster. But you know what? The water will never go above 160. So everything you're cooking is going to take longer because you cannot get to 212. Cool, right? So, you know, here at sea level, water boils at 212. You cannot cook any higher than that unless you build up the steam and pressure. Again, at a higher altitude, the air is less dense, right? You have less pressure, and that's why the water boils at a lower temperature. Inside the Instant Pot or the stovetop pressure cooker, the air is more dense because there's more pressure, and that pressure building up raises the temperature. So it's really kind of fascinating to think. We think of the boiling point of water as being a temperature issue. It's not. It's actually a pressure issue. Okay, so if you can raise the pressure, you can raise the boiling point of water, you can cook your food at a little higher temperature, which means it takes less time to cook. The opposite of what would happen if you were cooking on the top of Mount Everest, everything would take longer to cook. Now, is the Mount Everest cooking, healthier than my cooking? Not really, because it's not a temperature thing. And again, keep in mind that at 250, that temperature is not actually very high. I mean, when we bake or when we saute or something, we're getting foods to much higher temperatures, or grilling, if you ever looked at the temperature gauge on your grill, we're going way higher temperatures than 250 most of the time. So it's not really a health issue to go up to 250 in the pressure cooker. It's really kind of fascinating. So that's how it works. Everything, is sealed in there, locked in. The boiling water creates steam. The steam creates pressure, changes the boiling temperature of water, which can raise a little bit more, and decreases the cooking time of your food.